time is now 6:30. I'm going to call this session of the Ridgefield City Council to order. And Councilor Favela, would you please lead us in the pledge? To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Miss Julie, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Davis.
Present.
Councilmember Favela. Here. Councilmember Wells.
Here.
Councilmember Burkle.
Here.
Councilmember Hamilton.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Chipman. Here. Mayor Cole.
Here. All right, Mr. Stewart, any late changes to the agenda?
No late changes, Mayor.
Okay, sounds good. We're going to move into a couple of proclamations tonight. And I'm going to read the first one. This first one is Lights Out for Spring Migration. I'll read it, and then we have somebody here to receive it, sounds like. Yes, there you are. Great, glad to have you. Okay. The proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Ridgefield is on the Pacific Flyway, which brings millions of birds like warblers, white-throated sparrows, and snow geese into our airspace during the spring migration season. During peak migration, as many as 5 million birds may be seen in one night passing over or stopping to rest at the Ridgefield National Wildlife Refuge. And whereas many birds migrate at night using the moon and stars as guides, as birds pass over brightly lit cities, sky glow can disorient them and lure them into urban areas where they become disoriented and confused, collide with buildings, or fly around in circles until they collapse from exhaustion. Across the U.S., nearly 1 billion birds die every year as a result of hitting a window. And whereas Lights Out program helps reduce the impacts of light pollution on birds, mammals, fish, reptiles, plants, and humans, and they save energy and money, reduce our carbon emissions, safeguard our own human health, and preserve our view of the night sky. And whereas the city of Ridgefield has adopted policies directed at protecting migrating birds, preserving the nighttime environment, and minimizing light pollution while permitting reasonable amounts of light for nighttime safety, utility, and enjoyment. Now, therefore, I, Matt Cole, Mayor of the City of Ridgefield, do hereby proclaim spring migration season from April 15th to May 19th, 2025 as Lights Out Ridgefield, and encourage residents and businesses to help ensure the safety of the nighttime migrants by extinguishing unnecessary exterior lighting every night during the migration to get outside to view the night sky. Dated this 10th day of April, 2025. Okay, I'll sign that.
Thank you for declaring the Lights Out in Ridgefield. The Friends and the Refuge, along with the city and the Dark Sky International representative, have collaborated for years to protect bird life as our town serves as a key wildlife corridor. As a by the way, the refuge's new administrative building and future community nature center follow dark sky guidelines to keep nighttime lighting low and warm. Residents can pitch in by turning off unnecessary outdoor lights after 11 p.m. during spring and fall migration seasons. Thank you so much for the recognition.
There you go. Thank you. Okay. On to our next proclamation. This is for Red Cross Month. And this proclamation reads, whereas in times of crisis people in Ridgefield come together to care for one another, this humanitarian spirit is part of the foundation of our community and is exemplified by the American Red Cross. And whereas Red Cross Month is a national tradition that began in 1943, when President Franklin D. Roosevelt issued the first Red Cross proclamation to raise awareness of the organization and its humanitarian mission. And whereas Megan Dolger, Red Cross Northwest Region CEO, recognized that volunteers carry out 90% of the Red Cross worked and called people to action, Red Cross Month is a special time to recognize our neighbors who step up to care for each other. If you're looking for a meaningful way to give back, join us to help ensure no one faces an emergency alone. And whereas in the Red Cross Cascades region, serving Southwest Washington and Oregon, the contributions of more than 2,500 Red Cross volunteers provided relief for 692 households impacted by disasters, conducted 8,630 blood drives, delivered 251,475 units of blood to 60-plus area hospitals and cancer treatment centers, provided services to military members, veterans, and their families 11 times a day, and trained more than 40,000 people in life-saving skills. Now, therefore, I, Matt Cole, Mayor of the City of Ridgefield, do hereby proclaim March 2025 as Red Cross Month, and remind all citizens that Red Cross work extends beyond March, and encourage you to join the commitment by volunteering, giving blood, learning life-saving skills, or making a financial donation. This life-saving work is vital to the strengthening of our community's resilience. Dated this 10th day of April, 2025. Thank you very much. And we have Ms. Schill here to receive it.
Thank you, Mayor Cole. Thank you, council, and thank you, city staff. Just real quick, thank you for reading the entire proclamation and pointing out all of that we do. My name is Sandy Schill. I'm a board member with the American Red Cross for the Southwest Washington region. I just want to say a few things real quick. Of course, March is Red Cross Month. Thank you for extending into April to read that. Our mission of the Red Cross is to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors. Everyone in this room can be a volunteer or a donor, or a donor. Two parts to the mission is volunteers. We're all volunteer. We do have a small executive staff, of course, that runs the organization, but most of us are volunteers that sit on the board and work in the centers. The other is donors. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization funded by philanthropic gifts. 90% of all of our giving goes to our services. Our services are disaster response. As you said, just to touch on that, 2 to 3 home fires a week is who we service. We deploy disaster training volunteers to large areas like hurricanes, tornadoes. We are still in South Carolina. People from this region are still in North Carolina, serving the people there. And wherever there's another one hit, you see the Red Cross on the TV. Those people aren't just from that area. They come from all over the United States to volunteer. The blood donations, I want to thank Ridgefield. The city has worked with us here in the area to create a blood drive up at the Rourke, and they've gone successful. We have another blood drive tomorrow. Anybody in the room wants to donate can go on to the redcross.org, and they can find that blood drive that's located locally within Clark County and donate, or you can go to the center down by the Vancouver Mall and donate anytime you're available. We do health and safety training. Basically CPR, first aid, swim. We teach like safety training for swimming and babysit training. We're also a go-between for active duty service members. If somebody's overseas or in another country on service and they have a family emergency, we are the connection to that person and the family that the military isn't able to offer, and the Red Cross steps in and does the communication and sometimes even arrangements for them to come home in family emergencies. And of course, international service. It's, all around the world. You see us in other countries. So with that, sorry it wasn't as brief as I'd like, but thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sandy. There you go. Okay, moving on with our agenda here. It is now time for public comment. So anyone wishing to address the council regarding items not subject to a specific public hearing may come forward at this time to the podium or use the raise hand feature located on the toolbar at the bottom of your Zoom screen. For controls over the phone, press *9 to raise hand and press *6 to mute or unmute. Please state your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
My name is Michael Jennings. How can we help Ridgefield residents know more about the excellent management of the city of Ridgefield? I can help write things to encourage that. That's
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Cole, council members, and city staff. My name is Ann Bolger, and I am here on behalf of the Ridgefield Garden Club. I would like to introduce the idea of Ridgefield becoming a designated Bee City USA through the Xerces Society. The Garden Club has been exploring the possibility of Ridgefield becoming a designated Bee City USA because we believe this program aligns with the city's and our community's environmental values and commitment to green spaces. Simply stated, Bee City USA's goal is to engage communities to promote and protect native pollinator habitat with native plantings, and therefore by doing so, protecting our native pollinator population. There are a lot of P's. You might ask, why is this important to Ridgefield? Well, Ridgefield already values green spaces and conservation efforts. On Martin Luther King Day, we planted over 2,100 native trees and shrubs in the future location of Horns Corner Park, and there are native plantings that are scheduled near Mountain View Dental off of Pioneer. Our conservation efforts can enhance community engagement, educational programs, and partnerships with local businesses, schools, and residents. What the Garden Club has done so far has been to research the program and requirements. We've reached out to city staff, Lee Nucknernis, Corey Crownhart, in addition to Eric Anderson at the Refuge, and council members Chipman, Davis, and Hamilton met me for coffee. We hope to get on the agenda for a presentation with the Parks Board meeting that's scheduled for May 6th. We're prepared to collaborate with the city, and I've drafted a sample resolution for your examination. It's in your handouts, which will outline the commitments we would make to the Bee City program. We've planted native plants in Davis Park, and we conduct routine ivy pulls in Abrams Park. And the Native Plant Advocacy Committee of the Ridgefield Garden Club offers a native plant grant of up to $200 to our residents willing to plant native plants in their yards and gardens. We would continue to address the importance of public safety in collaboration with the city and the Parks Department to strategically consider the location of blooming plants on public land. What we are asking from the council is, would the city of Ridgefield be open to considering a Bee City USA designation? And who would be the best point of contact for moving forward? And would the council consider adding this to a future agenda for a presentation that would expand on these ideas and have some discussion? The Ridgefield Garden Club has formally voted and is happy to take an active role in supporting this effort. Please contact me directly with any questions or concerns, and thank you very much for your time and consideration in the matter. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you, Ms. Bolger.
Kathy Winters, 114 North 4th Avenue in downtown Ridgefield. I'm here to talk about the closing or the making one-way 4th North, to suggest that the parking be on the west side of the street for a couple of reasons. For one thing, there's 2 mailboxes now on the east side, and they have to leave 10 feet in front of each one, so nobody could park there. Secondly, being on the west side means that most people would be going downtown if they parked there, and they wouldn't have to cross the street in order to get downtown. Plus, it makes sense that you're driving on the right-hand side of the street when you enter 4th Avenue going north. So there you go.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to give public comment this evening?
First of all, I am a part of the Ridgefield Garden Club, and I just want to say I'm so excited about what Ann just was talking about. This is really a love for us. So good job, Ann. Also, I was at the coffee chat recently, and I want to tell you thank you. That was really awesome. We really look forward to more. And the other things that you were talking about, it was really cool just to sit there and chat with you. So I thought while I was here tonight supporting Ann, that I would also bring up something that is important to some of us that are here. My name's Valerie Ingman. I live at 200 North 4th Avenue. I'm within that 2-block radius where you're going to be making it a one-way. And when I asked the question where the diagonal parking would be, if it would be on the right or the left, in fairness, you said you weren't really sure yet, but you said you thought it might be on the right-hand side. And so tonight, I just want to put my 2 cents in as to why I think it should be on the left-hand side. So if you can see by the pictures, that is how people park on that street every day. Those of us that are on the right-hand side going north, the east side we would be on. A lot of us have driveways, so we park in our driveways. Our friends and neighbors that live across the street don't have driveways, a lot of them. They're already parking there, and in fact, a lot of them already park going north. They're already faced that way. The other thing is like that Kathy said, thankfully, thank you so much, we get mailboxes downtown now, which is great, but that means we have 2 mailboxes down there, plus an additional maybe 2 more that could be in that section. So that's a lot of parking spaces you would be missing out on if you made it on that side of the street. And then the other thing is that because a lot of us have driveways on that east side of the street there, that is also going to be taking away from parking spots that you would have if you had it on the other side of the street. And again, because my neighbors across the street and friends that live there, if they have to park on our side of the street, now they have to carry their groceries, their children, and they have to walk across the street to get to their front doors. And then the last thing I just wanted to say was with what Kathy had brought up, it's a little awkward to make a right-hand turn and be driving on the left-hand side of the street. Up on 5th Avenue, we have neighbors and friends that live up there. When you make a right-hand turn, their parking is on the left-hand side so that they're right in front of their homes. Thank you very much, and we look forward to more chatting with you.
Thank you.
My name is Josh Hansen. I live at 127 North 5th. So I'm at the other part of where the one-way is. A few things to consider with this. I'm all for it, but we have trials and tribulations with that. In an average weekend when things are going on at Abrams Park, we will count 27 cars going the wrong way on the one-way street. In an average evening when we are actually sitting in our living room and can see it, there's 3 to 4 a night, a lot of repeat offenders. Not counting all the ones that we step in front of and stop them and be like, turn, turn. So maybe look at how you guys post it and not do it like that was done at Simon's there, or continue Simon's all the way down, another one, so it's uniform between the two, would be a suggestion there. It's a good idea, just implement it a little bit better than what we have on 5th.
Thank you. All right, is there anybody else wishing to give public comment in the room tonight? Ms. Julie, anybody online?
Not seeing anyone online, Mayor.
Okay, great. We will go ahead and close public comment and move on with our agenda. We'll move to the consent agenda. I would entertain a motion.
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Council, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Now, we now have a couple of presentations tonight. Our first presentation this evening is regarding the property tax exemption program from the Clark County Assessor's Office, and we have Ms. Holly Hill here to give us a presentation. Welcome.
Sorry, I'm a little shorter than the last speakers. Hi, my name is Holly Hill. I am the Program Outreach Coordinator for the Property Tax Exemption Program for Seniors and Persons with Disabilities for the Clark County Assessor's Office, which is a really long name for a really wonderful program. So our agenda today, we're going to talk a little bit about an overview of the program, go over qualifications and eligibility, talk about the income thresholds, explain the income, explain deductions, go over required documents, talk about new legislative updates, how to apply, upcoming outreach events, and then we'll end with questions and contact information. So this program is a Washington State program. It's administered by each county assessor's office, and we get guidance from the Department of Revenue. The rules of the program are set by the state legislature. So the purpose is to reduce the tax liability for those on a limited income, most commonly our senior citizens and our persons with disabilities. And how it works is it freezes the assessed value of the home and land starting in the year that you qualify. It exempts taxpayers from paying any excess levies or the state school taxes Part 2, plus any special assessments. It reduces your total taxable value of the property based on your income. There is no obligation for repayment. It does not put a lien on your property, and applications are renewed every 6 years maximum. It's most commonly 4 to 6 years, but it's not a yearly application, thankfully. All right, and to be eligible, you have to qualify by age, ownership, residency, and income. So you have to own and reside in the home as your primary residence by December 31st of the prior year. So we need 6 months of residency for you to qualify. So if you're going to move in, it would have had to be of June of 2024 to qualify for 2025's tax relief. You also have to qualify either based on age, which is 61 years of age or older, or disability. This can be either by a note from your doctor, which we have a form for, disability status from Social Security or from the Veterans Administration, 80% or higher. And the income threshold to qualify is $62,000, and on the next slide we actually break it down into 3 different tiers. So tiers 1 and 2 are where you're going to see the most savings, because on those, not only is your home and land value frozen, you're exempt from those excess levies and the state school taxes Part 2, but also you're exempt from paying taxes on a portion of your assessed value. Tier 3, your home and land value are frozen, you're exempt from those excess voter approved levies, but you don't get a percentage off of your assessed value. And some people, it does deter them or kind of daunt them from applying, but I still assure you, you get plenty of savings. I think I've seen just the state school taxes Part 2 be in the hundreds, so even if you are in that level 3, you are still saving a good amount, and we do always encourage you to apply. All right, now what counts as income? For this program, it's going to be all your typical sources of income, so any wages from W-2s, pensions, annuities, your social securities, any IRAs, interest, dividends, but we don't count certain forms of income. We still want to see documentation for them, but they don't count towards your total income tally. Those are going to be your VA disability payments, but we do count retirement, any DSHS payments, any federal stimulus payments like the ones we got in 2020 and 2021, IRA rollovers, and reverse mortgages. And we also have a list of deductions. These are going to be typically medical deductions, and these are to help lower your income for program purposes. So this can be anything from premiums to basically anything you pay out of pocket towards your health insurance, Medicare supplemental premiums, and your normal Medicare Parts A through D, or all parts from your Social Security 1099. If you want to see a whole list, contact our office, because I could really go on for about a half an hour rattling everything off. But it is really wonderful because some people come in and they don't think that they'll qualify due to their income being high off of the first glance, but they bring in these deductions, and I've been able to lower people's income by about $10,000 or more just by these out-of-pocket costs and have them qualify for the program. So I would say even if you're unsure about where your income stands, still bring your information in so that we can take a peek at it. All right, and with the required documents, all of the documentation is set up so that it meets one of our qualifications for eligibility. So driver's license and IDs to confirm your address and your age. If you don't have that, we want to see something like a voter's registration card, a birth certificate. For your income, if you file your taxes, we want to see that complete tax return, including any pension and annuity 1099s or Social Security 1099s. If you don't file your taxes, just give us all the other paperwork that the IRS sends you. And then we also want to see any expenses for any medical deductions that you bring. For ownership, we want to see if there's a death certificate for any owners that may have been deceased, a divorce decree to see who is awarded the home, or most commonly our seniors population are putting their homes into trusts. Trusts do qualify for the program, but we do want to see a copy of the entire trust because we have to look for specific verbiage to ensure that you'd still meet the ownership qualification. And now legislative updates. So in 2024 for this year, the legislation opened up to allow accessory dwelling units to be included as part of your exemption. Originally, we would just kind of mark it off as a non-qualifying outbuilding, and you wouldn't be able to include that as part of the exemption on your property. But this year and going forward, you'll be able to do that. So some common ADUs that you may see are like tiny homes, above garage apartments, hardship mobiles, mother-in-law or in-law suites, something like that. So we are still learning about this, but if you do have an ADU that didn't previously qualify, I would recommend reaching out to our office for more information. All right, and how to apply. We have a bunch of ways to apply. Peter Van Nortwick, our assessor, had the foresight during the pandemic to set up an online portal to make it easy for people to apply virtually. So that is an option, but if you're not in the online realm, then we also do encourage you to come see us in person. You can email us your information. You can mail it to us. Our office hours are 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday to Thursday. And we also have a drop box on the first floor if you don't want to come up and talk to anybody. Coming up, we also have an outreach event here in Ridgefield. It'll actually be here in this room. So it'll be Friday, April 25th, 9 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. And the purpose of our outreach events are we go to each city in the county and we bring a couple team members and we take your applications, because as we grow this program, we're learning that it's hard for some people to get downtown. So we want to make it easy for you. We want to keep it easy for you. So once a year, we come to every city in the county and do a little sign-up session. So we will be taking appointments, but walk-ins are also welcome and encouraged. And if you want any more information for that, then please feel free to give our office a call. All right, thank you so much. Are there any questions?
Council, any questions for Ms. Hill? Nobody? Oh, Councilor Davis.
Not as much a question, just comment. I really appreciate the outreach efforts that you guys go through with making sure everybody that qualifies for this knows about it. So, I think it's important. It's a great program coming from the state, and I'm glad that our team locally is really making sure that everybody that should know about it does. So
That's
thank you.
wonderful. I really appreciate that. And thank you so much for hosting us. And we always look forward to these events as well. So thank you so much.
Any other questions? Okay. I just want to say thank you as well. I love the program. I tell everybody about it. I think we got my parents on it, so this is fantastic. And just out of curiosity, how many people do you have enrolled, or like homes enrolled across the county do you have in this program?
So I will tell you, we have about right now, I think 13,000 people that could qualify. And I want to say we have less than half on the program currently. So we're running the stats as often as we get them from the census to see who could qualify. But the numbers grow every year. And yeah, we're still just shouting and trying to get people to sign up. So we really appreciate local efforts too,
Great, yeah.
spreading the
Well,
word.
we'll do our part, and hope we get you those numbers. So, but thank you very much for coming.
Thank you
It's
so much.
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Okay. We have another presentation tonight. This is our Parks Capital Facilities Plan, and we will turn it over to Mr. Corey Cronhart.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mayor and Council. It's good to be back here to talk about parks again. Tonight we'll be talking about the Parks, Trails, and Recreation Capital Facilities Plan that is part of the comprehensive plan Envision Ridgefield 2045. So our objective tonight is to receive some of your feedback specifically on prioritization and principles that stand behind the Capital Facilities Plan as we look at the next 6 years of opportunities for parks and recreation. Some of the things I want to point out tonight is that a capital facilities plan for parks is a rough roadmap of where we may end up. Think of it like hiking on a trail. We're going to plan out where we want to go for our backpacking trip, but if there's an opportunity to stray off for a different amenity or opportunity, you can do so. And with that, there may also be obstacles you come across. Finally, a capital facilities plan is not a budget document. This is a rough roadmap of where we may go, just to help provide some context. Finally, I do want to point out that next year we will be updating the Parks, Recreation, and Open Spaces Plan, so there'll be an opportunity for us to revisit this again next year. With that, some of the fundamental things I want to go over before we dig into the specifics of the draft plan are some of the concepts regarding a system-level approach to a comprehensive plan for parks for you to consider and to discuss once we reach the end of this presentation. First is that our parks and trail system is a cohesive system that does not operate independently. No one park has to serve the purposes of every single person within the community, and parks and trails that are close to each other have impacts on one another. And a good example of this is the Rourke serves as a great state-of-the-art facility for baseball and soccer, while some of our other parks, maybe other parks such as Abrams Park, may have some of those sports facilities, but may have some of those natural elements in them. Some of the other things to consider when it comes to the capital facilities plan is the process by which the parks are created. There are really 5 steps in creating any of those parks. The first being land acquisition, acquiring the property. 2, master planning to get the impact and the perspective of the community. 3, to design the park and actually put down on paper what's going to be built. 4 is construction of that park. And then finally is the operations and maintenance for the life cycle of that park. That leads into my next concept, which is really that project cadence. Our question for you tonight is, what project cadence would you look for in a capital facilities plan long term? It's one of the principles we hope that you'll discuss at the end of our presentation tonight. With that, you'll also have to consider resource capacity and budgeting. A document like this helps support you as you continue moving forward and budgeting for your budgets in the years to come to achieve these projects. With that, there are 3 classifications of capital projects within parks, the first of which are planning projects. These are ensuring that we are planning for the growth of our community and serving the needs of all of the community. 2 are major maintenance projects, or making sure that we're doing replacement projects for those assets we put within parks. And then finally, there's traditional development, land acquisition, design and permitting, and of course, construction. So with that, we're going to dig into the draft capital facilities plan. With that, I do want to specify that everything within this draft plan has been already proposed and put forward to you as part of the 2020 PROS plan, Parks, Recreation, and Open Spaces plan, or it has been put forward as part of a council initiative. So some of those first projects on here, capital facilities for land acquisition, are acquisitions for property on the east side of the freeway and Greeley Farms, as well as the east side. It is also about finding new parkland in the Carty Road sub-area. Next slide. These areas are designated in the square boxes, C being the east side and Greeley Farms, K being the upper G Creek area, and I and J being those areas for the Carty Road sub-area. As we continue to grow as a city, these are the areas where there are opportunities for us to serve more of our residents. Next slide. Next up, we have our design and engineering projects. These projects include things like the Community Center, Abrams Park redevelopment, which was part of your master plan from last year, Boyce Park, Paradise Point Park, Horns Corner, Refuge Park, G Creek Trail North Segment, and the Waterfront Park in various phases. Next slide. Now we've got our planning projects. These projects include things like the Park Revenue Program that you approved as part of the 2025 budget. This will allow us to find and develop funding revenues with our current park assets. We've got the Park Recreation and Open Spaces Plan update scheduled for next year. And we've also included a trail system assessment and connectivity plan. Finally, we've included in the capital facilities plan draft some major maintenance items that may be of import for council. Those include projects that are taking place this year as part of your already approved budget. Those are the Abrams Park improvement, or taking down the caretaker house, an improvement to the Rourke to install a field house, an improvement to the Onslow Nature Play area, as well as the addition of 2 projects around the Park Preservation Program, which will be an opportunity for you to discuss at a later date. We currently have a number of funding mechanisms that council uses to help fund these projects. These are general funds, or funds appropriated by you, partnerships, which includes PIF credits and relationships with developers, grants, which is about finding opportunities to spend dollars from other government agencies, and then of course, park impact fees. There are other opportunities to explore in terms of funding opportunities, but I do know that that is something you're going to discuss later this year. My primary question for council tonight is to get your feedback and consideration of what principles do you wish to see in a capital facilities plan when it comes to the cadence of park projects. when it comes to what types of projects you want to see prioritized. What are those values you want to see reflected within this plan? Mayor.
Great, thank you, Ms. Groundhart. Council, any questions regarding the Park Capital Facilities Plan? Specifically regarding the prioritization criteria and the cadence that he's looking for tonight. Does anybody want to offer some insight on that? Mr. Davis.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it, obviously, coming from the Parks Board. I've seen a lot of this activity leading up to this, so it's really great to see it all kind of come together in one presentation. It's rewarding to see. So as far as the cadence, where I would lean is to pursue opportunities when they come our way. Instead of doing like a little here, a little here, a little here, will there be years that maybe we do that? I think absolutely. But I think if we run into a situation where maybe from a timing or a cost perspective, it makes more sense to, throw more resources at one property, then I think we should not be bound to, no, we can't, we kind of made a commitment for it to be more level. I'm thinking about like Paradise Point. That's a big community park level, neighborhood park level project. And if we were presented with an opportunity like, hey, there's kind of a window here where we could do these extra elements, just as a random example, I would want us to be able to pursue that if it made sense, as opposed to being bound. And even if that meant, I don't know, I wouldn't want to put other things on the back burner. I'd want to have a head start on it. But I don't know, that's kind of where I'm at with it, is taking advantage of opportunities as they see fit. Because I just think we're going to run into more cost efficiencies that way.
Yeah, great. Mr. Wells.
I guess I'm going to speak up on the Cardi sub-area plan. That has a lot of potential, just like Abrams Park. A lot of Cardi Road parallels to G Creek, so and a lot of that is undevelopable, but yet it still can make a really, really good big park, kind of like Paradise Point or whatever that, large parcels, but yet not impact development pieces. So.
Great, thank you. Councilor Burkle.
Thank you. I too would be in favor of focusing our efforts, and Paradise would be, I think, a perfect example where I think it would be very wise on our part to go in, do it, maximize it all at one time, get it done, and then move on to the next project, as opposed to do a little bit here, a little bit there, whatever, and have nothing completed.
Great, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem,
Sorry, I just dumped my water while I was trying to move the speaker, sorry. My thought about it too would be, I would like to see us not keep everything in one area, but kind of spread the parks out as we were building them, so that we weren't focusing, in one area, but we were spreading them out so everyone in the city had something kind of in their area. If we were building a park there, that we were finishing a park in each different area instead of just starting them in each area and then not finishing. I could see us finishing, like I said, building it completely when we had the opportunity to do that, but so that there was a park in each different area for people to be able to enjoy. Thank you.
I gotta say, this is how we know that you're a very seasoned mom and grandmother, because you're multitasking while giving comment during a council meeting. She's up here cleaning.
And mother and great-grandmother.
Yes, this is a powerful woman right here, folks. That's great. Council, anybody else wishing to chime in on this one? Anybody here? Okay. If not, I will. I will share the sentiments I've heard from my fellow councilors. I like the idea of seeing progress, and I think the public does too, to see that we're making some really definitive progress. And so that means if we do like a ribbon cutting a year, I think that'd be a great statement to say, hey, we got this one done and we're moving on to the next one. So I kind of see that almost like a leapfrog. You start, building a park, doing construction, and about the time you're kind of getting towards the end of it, then maybe we're starting pre-construction or construction, moving dirt on the other one, and then we can keep progress moving. But I think having that momentum is good because we seem to be very amenable to parks in this town, and I think that we want to see a lot more progress than we have. And I know that there's a lot in the works. Also, as we're prioritizing areas, we certainly have a lot on the west side of town. I am especially excited about things like the skate park or the pump track at Boyce. But also making sure that we're giving due attention to the east side. And I know you highlighted those things, and I would love to see, I think the park at Paradise Point, whatever we name it, will be a real gem. I'm looking forward to that, and having something like that on the east side too. I think would be a great statement to the residents as we look eastward. As we develop eastward over there. So that's kind of what I think as well. I know it's all contingent upon funding as well, and so if we have to prioritize grants and what we pursue, but the thing I wasn't super clear on in your presentation. So when we look at these prioritization, are we sort of lumping together all these projects? So the maintenance of say Abrams, or I know Rourke's already in progress, but Abrams specifically, is that treated separately than maybe the next phase of Refuge Park or something like that?
To clarify, your question is, are we including operations and maintenance and?
Yeah, are we saying one new park is kind of the project we're looking at, and then the maintenance of another park, say Abrams, would be on the side of an addition to, or is it kind of pick of all those, pick one to kind of how to prioritize?
Well, there are opportunities, of course, however you may choose. That said, there is an opportunity to, as I said, there's 5 different phases that you have for parks. You could have multiple parks moving forward in different phases at a time, wherein they're kind of each moving down the conveyor belt one at a time.
Yeah.
So the project that is, if we were doing a land acquisition this year, maybe next year is the year that we're doing master planning, and the year after that, we're doing that. And at the same time, there's another park kind of coming down the pike, right? Because it's really, the public really sees the construction component of it. That's the highest impact. But the work that's being done years beforehand all needs to take place to help get it there.
Right.
So I think there's an opportunity for you to consider how might you want to structure that so that you can get those ribbon cuttings each year.
Yeah.
That's the cadence that you have an opportunity to.
I think how you described it is the cadence I'm thinking of. Is that helpful?
It is.
Okay.
Makes sense, yeah.
All right. It looks like I'm getting a lot of nods, and so I think that council's in agreement with that. So
Wonderful. Next
okay.
step, we will take your feedback and include that into an updated draft, and we'll come back to you with some more thorough considerations. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. All right. Moving on to business, our first item of business tonight is the second reading of ordinance number 1448, amendments to the Ridgefield Municipal Code, 10.12, on-street parking regulations for certain sections of Taverner Drive and South Cispus Way. We'll go over to Mr. Green on this one.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, and guests. So this is kind of an update of what we talked about last time. Just to give you a quick refresher, we've had the HOA, members of the Homeowners Association at Taverner Ridge came and have been talking with us since last fall about some issues, and in these 2 streets particular, parking issues that they've had as far as whether or not there's parking blocking mailboxes, site distance, or blocking the ability of school buses and emergency vehicles to get through. Cispus Way is more of the mailbox site distance issue. Taverner Drive is more of the a tight curve impairing mobility of fire trucks and school buses to get through. I'll go to the next slide. So last time you asked us to go out and increase the number of door hangers. We did that. We more than doubled it. We handed out 70, even included Chucker Drive, the alleyway there, because as we looked into further, there's a couple of pathways worn from the end of Chucker that goes up the Cispus Way, and so obviously people who live on Chucker Way are wanting to use the parking along Cispus Way. And this went out last Thursday afternoon. I have not received any calls. We did put the council email in these door hangers. And so one email that came out, I have not seen it, so I won't be, I can't respond to it because I don't know what it says, but willing to do so tonight. Why don't you go to the next slide? So again, some of the discussion items were coming out of Metal Arc Drive, a couple of commercial vans parking and blocking sight distance for vehicles trying to get out there, turn especially left onto Cispus to go to Sevier. The question was whether these vehicles are parked there all the time. When we were out delivering the door hangers last Thursday afternoon, those vehicles were gone. So they obviously, they come back. I don't know where they live. I don't know what they do during the day, but they weren't there when we were out. When we were done, actually one of them had come back. So they don't just park there all the time. So, and then the other question, discussion was, we got vehicles who are parking close to the community mailboxes on the east, the north side, and impairing those. We have not heard anything from the post office particularly, whether their mail trucks have been blocked getting in there, but we have heard from the HOA that there are people who come and try to pick up their mail are sometimes blocked by vehicles that park there. The other question was, well, all right, what about down at the Tavern or Drive End? Is there a sight distance issue coming out from Metal Arc Loop there and trying to turn toward Tavern or Drive? So we did do a sight distance study. I won't say who happens to own that red truck that's there because it's parked in the no parking side of the street, but in order to do a sight distance study, that truck had to park there so we could do the sight distance study.
I hope it was cited or towed.
I don't want to out you, it looks like the Chuck truck.
It does, it kind of does look like the Chuck truck. And I don't know if the resolution's high enough to blow up the license plate number. But when we did this, we did note that yes, there is a little bit of a sight distance obstruction trying to turn out and left onto Metal Arc Loop with that. Why don't you go to the next slide? The left slide is what you saw last time. This is the tight curve where vehicles are parked on both sides of Tavener Drive. There is some tightness if you're in a larger vehicle like a school bus or a large fire truck trying to get around through those. You can still do it, but as we've heard from the school district, it is a rather tight fit to get through there. On the right is actually Tavener Court. And Tavener Court is, if you come down Tavener and you hit Cispus, you turn left to go to Cispus. If you go straight, Tavener Court is the cul-de-sac. And when we were out there looking at parking there, because it is parking on both sides, there's no vehicles parked along that street. So if there are, no parking goes in along Tavener Drive, there is nearby areas for people to park and plenty of parking available for them. Next. So the question then becomes, all right, what about the comparisons, whether about parking supply on Cispus Way? This is where we had most of the discussion last time, is on Cispus on the north side or the south side. The question then was, what about that short block as you get toward Tavener, where there's probably room for a couple of vehicles to park on either side of the street, the same on the side by Sevier, where the question is, if we have vehicles parking on the north side now, is there the same amount of room available if we shift them to the south side? And we measured that, and there is the same distance between Metal Arc Loop and Sevier in order to park those vehicles. Next slide. The other question was, all right, if these go into effect, what's the effect on the number of parking spaces? So we did measure those. On Tavener Court, there's, or Tavener Drive, excuse me, to get the no parking zone around that sharp curve. That's about 280 feet where that would become a no parking zone. That's about 10 to 11 vehicles. When we looked at the utilization, I actually went on the way here tonight and re-looked at that. There's plenty of room on that street, again on Taverner Court, for 10 or 11 vehicles to park somewhere else other than this. There actually were 3 vehicles parked in this area, and that's when I've been out there several times. It's about what I've seen in that sharp curve is 2 or 3 vehicles parked along there. It's not full of the 10 or 11, but that's approximately the number of parking spaces that would be impacted by considering that a no parking zone. On Cispus, the question is, all right, what does that look like if you flip the parking? What's the availability? If you flip the parking, because on the north side we only have one street coming in, but we have a community mailbox there, but there's right now no parking restrictions in front of the community mailbox, so we consider that to be a parking area. But on the south side, you got 2 streets coming in. What's that difference? Difference is, let's see, what did I say? 2 to 3 vehicles less if you park on the south side versus on the north side. That's about the net change, net loss you would get by flipping those. Let's see, do I have another slide or is that it? I want to go back to this slide for a minute. So the question is a couple things. One is, what do you gain if you have no parking on both sides between Meadowlark and Sevier? On the north side where the vehicles are parking now, there is a sight distance obstruction coming for vehicles trying to turn left to get to Sevier. Even turning right, it's a little bit tough of a maneuver, especially if you've got vehicles parked right when you're making that turn out. Moving them to the south side, there really isn't the sight distance obstruction that's as severe as, as much as coming out, because most of the vehicles, if they are, they're turning right, but if you're trying to turn left, that's a pretty clear maneuver as compared to what it is now for the other direction. The section, again, from Meadowlark to Taverner, the sight distance there, vehicles, we could, if the parking situation, if you decide the parking situation is to stay the same but do something about the sight distance, we could pull back a couple of the spaces at the Taverner drive-in where vehicles are obstructing the stop sign. If we pull back and make that a no parking zone for those last 75 feet worth, that will increase the sight distance of that stop sign. We could also do some on-street pavement markings to make that stop bar a lot more visible as you're approaching Taverner Drive. So that is something that to consider in this. I also want to note, we're planning to come back to you next month as a member of the follow-up from the downtown parking plan about an ordinance to restrict parking in front of or adjacent to mailboxes. We're going to come back with consideration of that next month. So that is something to consider when you start looking at parking in front of or right near or right next to the community mailboxes. So with that, this is the update. I'm going to end my presentation, returning to the mayor, and be ready to answer any questions.
Okay, great. We will go to council. We'll go to questions for Mr. Green at this point. And I'll start with Mayor Pro Tem, and then we'll go out from there.
So, Mr. Green, when you said that the HOA came in to talk to you about it, was it the HOA officers or the head of the HOA, or who came in?
It was HOA board members that came.
The board members?
Mr. Fulton and a couple others on the board.
So they came to you with a problem that they should have solved as the HOA and came to the city to ask them to solve it, is my view of it. I mean, I live in Taverner Ridge, and so does the mayor, and so does the other councilwoman there. And to my knowledge, we've never ever had an accident there. The other thing that's going through my mind is that we just came, back from Olympia a few weeks ago, and one of the things that Olympia just did is they just passed, so that you can only have one parking spot for for a housing unit in the larger cities, anything over 20,000 square feet. And I mean, parking is just becoming a huge issue. And I'm feeling like we're trying to solve an issue that isn't really an issue. That I don't believe there's ever been accidents there. I believe you can take a fire truck through there. It might be tight, but it can go through there. These poor people that live there are already so crammed for parking. I mean, I walk through there almost every day. I just hate to see the city try to solve an issue for Taverner Ridge that is really a Taverner Ridge problem if they want to make that parking illegal. But the people that have to bring their work trucks home, like Councilor Favela said a couple of weeks ago when she was talking, what are they supposed to do? You know what I mean? We can't park on Hillhurst. I mean, I guess I just don't agree with any of this except not parking in front of the mailboxes. I don't think there's been accidents. I don't think anything about it is that dangerous. I just don't think it solves that many problems. I'm sorry. I think you've spent a whole lot of time working on this for them, which is incredibly nice of you and incredibly nice of the city, but I'm not convinced it needs to happen.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. No, there's not action right now, Mr. Akeley.
I mean, this changed from last time. It's a new presentation.
Mr. Akeley, you know very well there's no interaction back and forth with the council. I'm sorry. So over here, I think we had Mr. Brickell next? Yeah.
Mr. Green, just a clarification. I was under the impression we talked about the potential of no parking on both sides of Cispus from Sevier to Meadowlark. Was that correct?
Yes, and that we looked into.
Or due to the switching and blocking the stop sign? I need a little clarification.
So the question was, if we do flip the parking and the vehicles that are parking on the north side now park on the south side, what about that short block between Meadowlark and Sevier? We did measure, and the distance for the vehicles that are now parking on the north side is the same if they were parking on the south side. The question then is, all right, what if we just make both sides no parking? Our vehicles, the two vehicles that were in that photo, would still need somewhere to park. They would likely end up on the south side in that green area that's on that right-hand map. If both sides are made no parking.
If we did allow parking on the south side, would those two vehicles block that stop sign?
I did not see that would happen. If it did, I have to admit, I didn't specifically study that because there's no parking there, and I didn't have a large enough vehicle. The truck doesn't double as a commercial van. But if they did, we also can put the white stop bar in the street that means stop. That would be into the lane, so they'd be able to see that.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to Councilor Davis.
Yeah, I was just hoping to get a little bit of clarification, I guess, for all of us. We're talking about, city policy, but we're talking about HOA policy and, a suggested maybe lack of either enforcement or, appropriate policy or whatever. What authority would an HOA have to implement like a no parking zone? Like, could Taverner or any neighborhood HOA in the city put up like a no parking sign with authority?
No. Under statute, the HOA has no authority to post no parking. It's a regulatory action by the council. I have limited authority as the city's traffic engineer to modify and create no parking in situations where it creates a sight distance obstruction or a safety issue. But as far as the longer, only the city council has that authority to create those zones.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Council, other members wishing to speak up. We'll go to Ms. Hamilton first.
Thank you. So I'm just curious. I think whatever the option is, it has to be a net zero change for the amount of parking that people get to have. So whether you take it away or put it in. I think you can't just eliminate 10 people's place to park and not think about that, especially because, there's, like you said, it's a very densely populated. I'm curious on Taverner Drive, why we are okay with part of the street parking and part of the street no parking, if it's a bus issue or a corner issue or what is the curve in the road is the thing?
That's exactly it. It's the sharpness of the curve. And we're proposing it only in that sharp curve. The other side of the street is not the issue where the houses are. It's when I've talked with the school district, it's their larger school buses that are having trouble kind of taking a square box and trying to go around a sharp curve is what their issue is.
So do we know what the net change is on the parking situation if we implement it as is?
It would be a loss of 10 to 11
10 to
spaces on the storm pond side of the street.
Okay. I saw another question over here on my left side. Was it Mr. Burkle again? Oh, you got it. Okay. Anybody else wishing to comment on this? Mr. Wells.
Yeah, the only question I have, where was the complaints issued from? Was it from the school district?
No, it's members of the HOA board that came and talked with, actually both Mr. Stewart and I last August. And then I kind of continued those discussions and did an on-site analysis back in December with them kind of pointing out what the issues are so we could take a look at. Then subsequent, I did on my own some engineering studies to come up with these as kind of addressing their issues.
Okay, thank you for clarification.
Great. And then over to, we'll go to Ms. Favela first because she hasn't spoken yet.
Thank you. When we talk about the bus having an issue getting around the corner or emergency vehicles, are these hypotheticals or are these factual statements that have been made by the district and by emergency services?
I've not heard any complaints from Clark Cowlitz Fire Rescue. What I've heard is when talking with Shannon from KWRL, where he indicated they are not blocked from getting through, but it is kind of an issue, kind of moving through there.
Right.
So it is tight, but it's not impossible to get through.
Like most tight neighborhoods in Ridgefield.
I didn't ask him that, but yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay. Councilor Hamilton.
Thank you. If I could make a suggestion, I think that we should leave the south side of Cispus and Taverner as a parking opportunity on that side of the street. On Taverner Drive, there's 9 houses that are behind that. That is not a heavy trafficked area. There's 9 very large houses. I know we have parking along there, but I think being able to still have a little bit of, like a couple spots there is pretty important.
Could you actually clarify, like on that map, like where are you saying that on Cispus right there, like
Yeah.
where we have it as?
Where Cispus and Taverner Drive,
Yeah,
the smaller
okay.
section there, I believe that should be a parking
You think that should be a parking?
zone, yeah.
Is there, Mr. Green, is there any visibility issues with that if that were to be allowed parking right there?
I believe you're talking about that little straight section when you're coming towards Cispus.
Here we go again.
Like
Yeah.
Meadowlark and Taverner are on
Yeah.
either side of it.
So are you talking about Taverner Drive or Cispus?
That last block before Cispus reached Taverner Drive.
Okay.
Like I can walk over and point on
know.
that.
So are you asking for which side of the street? Because the north side, the way, because you got a little
South
dip
side.
coming down toward Taverner.
South
The
side.
south side
Yeah.
would not be an issue.
Okay.
It's marked as no parking right now.
It's marked as no parking. The only vehicle that I saw parked there, I just happened to be driving at the time I did the site distance study.
Yes, but I think if we're eliminating the other side of the street, we need to have an opportunity that's closer than people having to park down the road and carry their groceries up their already tall house.
Yeah, I guess I'm still not quite sure if you're talking, would there be an issue?
I'm just looking for an opportunity to add more spaces then, in a place that makes sense.
So what you're saying is if we took spaces away, if we're taking spaces away, 11 spaces on Taverner Drive, you feel like we can offset that by allowing parking on that last kind of half block area?
I think we can contribute, yeah.
Okay.
Well, I guess point of clarification, I don't think it's offsetting. I think that the curve is 10 or 12 spaces,
Right.
right? And so adding, I mean, the net loss would be more than 10 or 12. We're just, I mean, we're still at 10 or 12. We're not eating away at that number. Because it's going to be more in total. We're just reducing what the more is.
I do want to
Correct?
point out that Sispus Way is not wide enough for vehicles to park on both sides. If that's what you're trying to come up with.
No,
But
I'm saying leave the map as is, add that small red section at the end where Cispus Way and Taverner to Meadowlark, that section, just make that a parking option.
Yeah, I don't see that as causing a major issue. We have vehicles parking near intersections all over the city where, yeah, you have to creep out a little bit into the intersection to make your turn. I don't see that as being the issue as much it is on the other side where vehicles are parked there and blocking visibility of the stop sign.
I completely agree with what you're saying.
So I guess what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way, I don't think that would be an issue to have parking on that side.
You're agreeing
in
with
that
me.
short block.
We're in agreement, is what we're saying?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So that would ultimately be a change, like that need to be reflected in the motion. Yeah, okay. Councilor Davis, did you have something else for that?
Kind of, I still have the concern about that east side, the Severe and Cispus, you know, with the two short blocks and the visibility you talked about. I just want to clarify that, I mean, there is concern about blocking, whether it's the current commercial vehicles that are there or maybe 10 years down the road, other larger vehicles, that there's still going to be probably a strong argument that both sides of the road should have no parking from a visibility safety perspective.
On the south side, again, I didn't look specifically at this, but if those commercial vans moved over, the question is, would they block the stop sign as you're coming towards Severe? They might, but we have that situation in a lot of places, and that's where we put those white stop bars on the street.
Yeah.
To kind of help accentuate that there's a stop sign there. The bigger issue that I see is where they're parking now for vehicles trying to turn off of the north leg of Meadowlark towards Severe, because they do have to get well into the intersection to be able to see around.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate Councilor Hamilton's, you know, thought about Cispus and the Taverner Meadowlark little strip to add something where we can. But as far as like the south side, I still think that the south side of Cispus between Meadowlark and Severe probably warrants the no parking. That's where I'm at.
Okay. I'll just weigh in real quick here, just looking at Taverner Drive. I will say that going through Taverner at any, like that part of Taverner Drive, at any stretch, if there's cars on both sides, it is a little bit of a tight squeeze. And I drive over that way frequently. And the other thing is, you know, I know we're worried about kind of a loss of spots right there, but it's not like it's completely full on both sides right now. This isn't, that's not the situation. So if, you know, you just get kind of a smattering of cars on one side and a smattering on the other. But I think it would be good to say, hey, they have to park all the way on that other side where it's proposed to just be green, and then that other side by the reservoir or the storm pond should be just all no parking, if you ask me. So that would just keep it clear now and in the future. Councilor Favela.
Sorry, just one clarifying question. If we change this no parking area, is the HOA responsible for enforcement, or is it parking complaints come to the city?
We would receive complaints, but it's up to our police department to enforce no parking, or a code enforcement officer.
And council, what we've spoken of is if council decides to change any of the parking and no parking zones, there would be several steps that would be taken. First of all, there'd be signage that would be added that noticing people of the change. Secondly, associated with the change, when signs were put in, they'd have flagging associated with them so that you knew that there was a change present. Third, there would be initial, I call it enforcement efforts, but truly warning efforts, just reminding people that the situation had changed prior to any formal enforcement that would take place.
Thank you. And I know that we did door hangers again, which is really great, and we did get one response back, only one, and they were not in favor of changing anything in this neighborhood, so I just wanted to make that aware.
Okay, we'll go to Councilor Burkle and then Councilor Hamilton.
Thank you. Just one quick question on Taverner. Would it be possible to not eliminate, I think you said 11 spaces on Taverner? Am I correct on that?
Yeah, approximately 10 or 11 around that
Would it be
sharp curve.
possible to go to 5? Or would that not work on Taverner?
The issue is the length of the curve to get around it. We might be able to tighten it up a bit after you've gone around the curve to reduce that number a bit. My other concern is you've got a crosswalk there at the intersection. It's not marked, but it's still a crosswalk. And you've got a storm pond maintenance road that comes out right there. That if you have vehicles parked, and I've actually observed this, if you have vehicles parked right there, it does block visibility of a pedestrian trying to see as they enter the street or as a maintenance vehicle as they enter the street.
Thank you.
Okay, council, at this point, I'd like to move towards some level of action. So I would entertain a motion. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me. Is there any more discussion? If not, I'm going to ask Ms. Julie to read the ordinance into the record.
I have a question.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I don't know if this is thinking too far out, but Mayor Pro Tem Chipman feeling like, noting that this feels to be more of an HOA issue than a city issue, are we worried that doing this kind of thing then has a ripple effect into neighborhoods all over where this is going to become a thing?
Councilor, one of the more frequent conversations and communications that we get from HOAs and from individuals in the community is parking. Speed limits, parking, enforcement, those are not uncommon as is. So I would hazard a guess that this action would not lead to anything that is above what we already receive.
Okay. Any last discussion? This sounds we have a few more comments here. So, Councilor Wills.
One comment, I'll chime in here. If we was to eliminate 3 or 4 parking spots in the middle of the curve, that would give larger vehicles, school buses, the opportunity to veer off to the right and gives a lot bigger area to get around a corner. I have a CDL, and we're always looking for a place to turn around, dive into, to get around an obstacle, if you want to call that, or other cars there. But if you've got a place to veer off a ways and then come back in, that gives you straighten the curve out. It gives you a chance to do a 90, if you understand what I'm trying to say. And if you eliminated 4 parking spots right in the apex of the curve, then it opens it up more on my own. That's my own opinion on it.
Okay. Any other comments, council? All right, Ms. Julie, would you please read the ordinance into the record?
Ordinance number 1448, ordinance of the City of Ridgefield, Washington, modifying on-street parking regulation for certain sections of Taverner Drive and South Cispus Way.
Thank you. All right, council, at this point, I'd entertain a motion. Okay. Mr. Stewart? Oh, you were going to say something.
I was simply going to say, if there is, for lack of a motion, then the item that before you then, with lack of a motion, then the item is not passed. The item moves off the agenda.
Okay,
So,
gotcha. If it looks like there's no motion, we will go ahead and move on with our next item of business, okay? With no action. Our next item of business is second reading of ordinance number 1446, the Muckensnable petition to annex. Ms. Less, over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening to council and members of the public. This business item is the second reading of Ordinance 1446, Muckinstable Petition to Annex. Next slide, please. All right, so council has seen this proposal twice now through the initial intent to annex phase and then a March 13th public hearing on the petition to annex. The subject property is in the Carty Road sub-area. It is 5.8 acres. All right, so annexation does come with the question of concurrent determination of city zoning. So per the comprehensive plan, because this is an urban low designation area, the implementing zoning would be residential low density 4, 6, or 8. Per the Carty Road sub-area plan, the designation for this parcel is RLD4. So in the ordinance as written, the zoning designation would be RLD4 with the urban holding 10 overlay, which is currently in place, being maintained through annexation. All right, the procedural requirements for this project have been met to date, including the intent to annex, which council passed as resolution 653 back in September. A certification of sufficiency from the Clark County Assessor's Office, which was received on January 15 of this year. And then, as I previously mentioned, a public hearing on the petition to annex phase on March 13th. Prior to that hearing, we received and council received written testimony from a relative of the next door neighbor immediately to the east, calling our attention to a potential property boundary dispute between those two owners. Staff reached out to our city attorney as to what additional information should be sought prior to bringing the annexation back to council for action this evening. City attorney recommended having the applicant submit a title report for the property showing whether there are any other ownership interests. For example, notice filed against the property of a dispute or claim. The applicant submitted a title report on April 7th. City attorney reviewed that title report and confirmed that they have clean title on the property as shown before you and in the survey and legal description included in this application. So with that, the next steps are tonight is the second ordinance reading. Council has the opportunity to take action. If the petition to annex is adopted, then staff will follow up with proper noticing to required agencies, including Census, Assessor's Office, and Department of Revenue for this project. So with that, I will turn it back to you, Mayor Cole.
Great, thank you, Ms. Lust. Council, any questions or comments on this petition? Go ahead, Ms. Hamilton. Oh, you're good? Okay. I was just going to notate that we also received an email regarding this issue, regarding an adjacent property. It's the Fell property. And the request was to geographically.
Mayor, if I may, that's for a separate agenda item.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. You're right. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Because I have none now. Okay. Ms. Julie, would you please read the ordinance into the record?
Thank you, Mayor. Ordinance 1446, ordinance of the City of Ridgefield, Washington, annexing into the corporate limits of the City of Ridgefield, approximately 5.8 acres identified as Muckinsnubble annexation area, and assigning the zoning of the annexed area as residential low density 4 with urban holding 10 overlay.
Great, thank you. All right, Council, at this point, I had to entertain a motion.
I move to adopt ordinance number 1446 as presented.
I'll second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Any additional discussion? Okay, Ms. Julie, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Hamilton.
Here. Yes.
Councilmember Burkle.
Aye.
Councilmember Wells.
Aye.
Councilmember Favela.
Yes.
Councilmember Davis.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Chipman.
Yes.
Mayor Cole.
Aye. Okay, the motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to our next item of business. This is resolution number 662, the Oberruder intent to annex. Ms. Lust, we'll go back to you.
Thank you again, Mayor Cole. So this is a separate annexation request at the beginning of its process, which is the intent to annex. This is a proposal to annex the Oberrider properties, which comprise about 22 acres in the southwest corner of the Donut Hole, also known as the G Creek Plateau sub-area. All right, so as far as future zoning and development would go for these properties, the sub-area plan designation is RLD 6, residential low density 6, for these properties, which are located between G Creek to the north and Wishing Wells to the south for orientation purposes. Access to the properties currently would be from 26th Avenue, which is in Wishing Wells, and Stubbs to the southern portion of the property. The western of the two parcels is the one that really has the developable area. The eastern of the two parcels is fairly encumbered by critical areas, but the proposal is to bring them both into the city via direct petition method for annexation. This first step, the intent to annex, requires signatures from at least 10% of property owners, or property owners representing 10% of the total assessed value. The overriders signed, they're 100% of these two parcels, so that requirement is met. And the purpose of this meeting is for council to basically decide whether or not you as a body will bless this to move forward in the annexation process to that next step, which is the petition to annex. And one of the options you do have this evening is to either adopt the intent to annex as presented or with a geographic modification. And the reason I bring up the geographic modification is because we received a correspondence from an individual representing the property immediately to the west of the Oberriders properties, which is indicated with the blue dot on the map before you. That's the Fell property. And they are requesting a geographic modification to include that property in this annexation area. The Fell property is one that started going through the annexation process back in 2019, 2020. The applicant at that time backed off from that process, and it did not continue forward at their behest. But now with the adjacent properties beginning their process, they have interest again. How a geographic modification works is that sets the maximum boundary of the annexation area. It, through the next phase, can be maintained at that maximum. It can be decreased, just not increased beyond the maximum set with the intent to annex. I don't have an exact number, but that Fell property just by eye would add about 7 acres to the total annexation area. So I'm happy to take any questions about the proposal or the procedure itself moving forward. Back to you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Lust. Okay, council, any questions for Ms. Lust on this petition? Mr. Wells.
The question I have is it got entrance from 26th Avenue. Where is 26th Avenue?
Correct. 26th Avenue is immediately to the south. So there is a street to the south that stubs to the southern boundary of the kind of the western corner of the red parcels.
And where does 26 start at? Where's the headwaters at 26?
The headwaters are Hillhurst Road. It's accessed via Hillhurst.
I don't.
Okay, anybody, any other questions or comments at this point? Okay, I would entertain a motion then.
I move to adopt resolution number 662 as presented.
I'll second.
1 second, council, did anybody wish to add the geographic modification?
Oh.
So does that have to come in as amendment? Amended motion?
Mayor, you have a motion and a second on the floor, so it would be appropriate to amend that motion if you so choose with the geographic modification for Fell, and then you would take a vote on that specific amendment, then the underline with the amended.
Okay, so would you like to offer an amendment, Counselor?
Yes. I would like to move forward, including the geographical, whatever we just called it. Thank you.
Geographically modify.
Yep.
To add the Fell property.
To add the Fell property.
To add the Fell property. Okay, so there is amended motion to geographically modify Resolution 662 to include the Fell property. It doesn't have to be seconded.
Second.
So,
I'll second.
Okay.
no, just, oh, it does have to be seconded. Okay, it's been seconded, and we vote on that. All in favor of the amended motion?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Now, going back to the motion that's on the floor, is there any other discussion, council? Seeing none, I will ask, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you. Okay, our last item of business tonight is approval of Greeley Farms Phase 2C final plat. Ms. Lust, back to you.
Thank you for the final time, Mayor. This proposal before you is a final plat. It is for Phase 2C of the Greeley Farm subdivision, which shown on the map before you is on the east side of the city. All right, so Phase 2C specifically is kind of on the eastern central portion of Greeley Farms. It is surrounded to the east is Foster Farms, to the northeast is future Phase 4 of Greeley Farms. Immediately to the north is the Helensview neighborhood, which is in unincorporated Clark County, larger 1/2 to 1 acre lots. And then to the west is Phase 2A of Greeley Farms. To the southwest is a piece of property that the city is in the process of purchasing from the developer for a city park. So moving to the next slide, we'll see Phase 2C a bit closer up with some labels there indicating its surroundings. This phase has 23 single-family detached residential lots. The lot sizes range from 4,400 square feet roughly to about 14,500 square feet, so a pretty large range there. The average is just shy of 6,000 square feet. The largest lots are those adjacent to the existing Helensview neighborhood to the north, and that arrangement was a feature of the development agreement guiding the master plan of this project to have those larger lots adjacent to the existing neighborhood. All right, in addition to the residential lots, we have Tract A at the southern end there. That is a stormwater tract to be owned and maintained by the HOA with inspection and access easement to the city. It's accessed via a private road, which is also to be owned and maintained by the HOA with public access. And a function of that access is not just for the stormwater itself, but to a trail through Tract A, which is part of a larger trail network through Greeley Farms, including Phase C and stubbing to the future city park. So if we flip to the next slide, we can kind of see how that plays out. The left image is an aerial pre-development conditions. Basically, you can see the existing public park amenities to the west there. That includes that nicely covered gazebo feature in the Greeley Park. And then the image to the right plops Phase 2C on there. The green indicates open space. As you can see, there is a narrow strip on the east side of Phase 2C that has been developed with a paved trail that then reaches around the storm pond in Tract A and does stub to the west. That stub to the west is soft surface because the continuation of that is a trail that is in that open space, and it is, I believe, in a buffer requiring that softer surface. So that gives you an idea of how everything will connect up in this area through features already constructed, and whatever that future city park ends up looking like will have direct access from this phase of Greeley Farms. All right, so just to hit the highlights of our staff review, we always perform survey, engineering, and land use review for final plats. Survey, we recently instituted a process improvement for better coordination with Clark County Survey. All survey comments have been addressed through that joint process. Engineering review looks at completion of site improvements, and in some cases with final plots, as you've seen, they're required to have a performance bond for incomplete improvements. In this case, there's no performance bond because those improvements are substantially complete. Some punch list items remain that we are simply conditioning to be met prior to signing the Mylar. Nothing major left to be completed at this stage. Likewise, for land use review, conditions have been met and comments addressed. City attorney reviewed the CC&R documents for Phase 2C and approved them. Another condition of approval would require the applicant to record those along with the plat. So those conditions of approval are encapsulated in the staff report, and as such would be part of a motion to approve as presented. Those would be captured in there, just for your edification. And with that, I will turn it back over for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you again, Ms. List. Okay, council, any questions regarding this item of business? Mr. Wells.
The question I have, there's an existing public park there in the top part of the green picture, and then it says city park in the other part. How many acres does that encompass total?
It's right around 8 acres total.
About 8 acres, okay, thank you. It's a little bigger than a tot lot.
Depends on the size of the tots.
Council, any other questions for Ms. Luss on this one? Any comments regarding this item of business? If not, I would entertain a motion.
I will move to approve the Greeley Farms Phase 2C final plat as presented.
Second.
Okay, council has been moved and seconded to approve the Greeley Farms Phase 2C plat as presented. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you very much, council. Moving on, we will return to public comment tonight. Anyone wishing to address City Council regarding items not specific to a public hearing may come forward at this time to the podium or use the raised hand feature located in the toolbar at the bottom of your Zoom screen. For controls over the phone, press *9 for raise hand and press *6 to mute or unmute. Please state your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anybody wishing to give public comment tonight? Miss Julie, anybody online?
Not seeing anyone online.
Okay, sounds good. We will go ahead and close public comment and move on to council and presiding officer reports. I'm going to start at the far end and give me your top 1 or 2 things that you wanted to discuss tonight.
Sure, thank you so much. I wanted to give a shout out to Mr. Thamert. He was lovely enough to give a tour to my fiance and show his enthusiasm and excitement for his job and what he does. And it was a really touching comment that he made about when they're working really long hours and all hours of the day and all days of the year, and people in the community will bring in food for them. And I just think that that's such a testament to how beautiful our community is. And then I wanted to highlight that Councilor Favela and I did a food drive to benefit Compassion 360, and she was able to drop that off today, and we got a good turnout, and specifically allergy and gluten-free and all the things that are hard to account for in those spaces. And so I want to thank her for that idea and including me on it. So Thank you. Those are my two highlights.
Great, thank you, Counselor. Counselor Burkle.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. Had a very, very interesting meeting on April the 8th at the Clark County Council. If you ever have an opportunity to go, I think you will really appreciate the cohesiveness of our council here. We were there for 3.5 hours, I think, and I think we'll be returning possibly next week.
Right.
One other thing, port meeting today, or yesterday, just a couple of things. They're going to be installing some new EV charging stations. They're going to be putting 4 at Fish and Wildlife and 4 at Wisdom Ridge, which is out on Wells Drive, I believe. Also, they announced a new Ridge Point Business Park. They believe they can put about a 20,000 square foot building. For those of you that don't know where it is, I didn't, I had to find out. It's off of Wells Drive, where Park Trust, or Pac Trust, is building their new buildings. Also, just a note of interest, Vancouver Canine Police have been out in Ridgefield training on port property. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Wells.
Now I know what them buzzards are doing, flying around off of Wells Drive there, where they're training with their rigs. On the 8th, I also went to the county council meeting. It was very disappointing, but we hope that we have a little more say at the next one. And I had a question for Mr. Stewart, would there possibly be a workshop or not? Has that been able to?
I can address that too.
Pardon?
I can address it, yeah.
Oh, you'll address that?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. And then yesterday I had my briefing, and that's it. I made it short.
Awesome. Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Favela. No, I want to go to you.
Thank you. I prefer to go first. I was able to tour the entire fire district. So I'm the liaison for the fire district, and usually I just go to one station, attend the meetings with the commissioners. But I was able to go with our fire chief to tour every single fire station within the district and get to know each of the complexities from those stations. The shared station down by the fairgrounds that they share with District 6, partnerships that they have throughout the community, and it was just really good to see everybody working together for the greater good of the community. As Councilor Hamilton stated, her and I participated in a food drive. This food drive was primarily for allergy-friendly food, and this is something that is really important to me, but I think oftentimes we have food drives and people donate food as they should, but there are so many families that struggle with children with allergies. They have health conditions themselves, and it's hard to go to these places to find food that they can actually nourish their bodies with. So I really appreciated all of the community and the businesses that allowed us to use them as drop locations. Thankful for staff. I brought a little flimsy bucket. I didn't think it would be like a good turnout, and that quickly went away, and we had to haul in a much larger bucket to fulfill the food that was coming in. I attended Fire Commission meeting tonight, city briefing, an AWC legislative update call, and the pedestrian crosswalk was installed on Hillhurst, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's not functioning or operating just yet, so when it is, we will definitely share more information about that.
Great. Thank you, Counselor. Go over to you, Counselor Davis.
Yeah, thank you. You know, since our last meeting, I was able to have spring break, and as a teacher, and my wife's a teacher, that means we're both able to get out of town. So that's what we did. And it was nice. I was able to get back and check out the stuff going on with First Saturday, and obviously a lot of folks cruising around downtown. I am currently, I'm training for a race, but part of it is I've got to do these regular bike rides, and it's bike season, right? And I've taken the opportunity to do some of my bike rides through Ridgefield instead of just I still go to some of my usual stuff where it's a little more wide open, but even yesterday, I did a tour of the east side and actually went up to the Greeley deal, and I mean, boy, all the nooks and crannies they've got going on there. And it was just, it's a really unique way to see some of the neighborhoods. I've gone through downtown and up and through the north side and stuff like that. And so that's just been really rewarding to be able to go and, you're taking a little bit of time to be considerate of, just some of the features of our community and, roads and, parks and things like that. So I've been trying to use these training opportunities to stay a little bit more plugged into the community. So anyways, that's what I got.
Great, thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Chipman.
So top two. So some of you were with us last Saturday when we did our coffee connection. The mayor and I did, which was really great. We just had a great time, and I'm sure he'll talk more about it, but we were so appreciative of all the people that came, and the city for bringing, Miss Notnaris for bringing coffee and muffins for everybody, and I think it was really a good turnout, probably, I don't know, I would say 30 people maybe.
Yeah, I think about 30, 35 people.
I think about 30 or 35 people came to talk, and the mayor started by saying, please ask us about anything except the splash pad. Please don't talk about the splash pad. So we got all kinds of questions, and it was just great. It was really a good time. So we hope to continue to do those. And other than that, my second most exciting thing was the county council meeting this week. So it's been a good couple weeks.
It has. It's been a busy couple of weeks, as it usually is lately. So thank you. And thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, for joining me for the coffee connection. It was really great. Saw some of you there, and we've gotten a lot of good feedback on it. So we'll be doing more of these, and you'll be seeing other counselors at those. And so it should be good. It is, I think, advocacy season because there's a whole lot of stuff happening right now. The legislature is kind of coming to they're hopefully coming to a resolution for the operating budget, and we've been doing a fair share of advocacy up there. We have a few capital budget requests. Well, we have one in particular that we've been working with our delegation on, and I gotta give a thanks to Representative Peter Arbarno for really going to bat for us there. He is doing some good work to get us some funding out of the capital budget for slide stabilization right there in Pioneer. There's been, we spent some time in Olympia earlier, like about I think it was last month, and talking about that, and there's been 4 slides on Pioneer right there over the last 40 years. Last year, we converted it from SR 502. The state let us take it over, and now it is no longer a state highway. It's just a city street. It's Pioneer. But as a result of that, we do need some state support on that, and so the Representative Arbarno has been instrumental in helping getting us adding a request from the House budget of $1.5 million for that. The Senate also has a request in there, not quite as large. It's about $400,000. So we have some work to do to help kind of get them across the finish line. But we're optimistic at this point that we'll receive some state funding for that. And then turning more locally, as several councilors mentioned, we did attend the county council meeting. Was that yesterday?
Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. Okay, good. Yeah, goodness. Tuesday. And the issue at hand here, the council had a pretty lengthy study session a few weeks ago. We've been going through our comprehensive plan update for a while now, and we're kind of coming up on, I think, 1.5 years or 2 years working on this issue. And I think I got to hand it to the council, and even more so to our staff, who have put a lot of thoughtful effort into the planning that goes into what Ridgefield will look like over the next 20 years. And just to recap some of the efforts there, for Envision Ridgefield 2045, as it's called, we've actively been engaging residents to help shape this vision. We've already held 19 community conversations. We've tabled at multiple events, held 7 online surveys, facilitated a community workshop to hear your thoughts and ideas about what our future as a city looks like. And I think that's the operative thing, is like, what are your thoughts? What do you want your community to look like? And we take that, and we've done quite a bit of conversation and deliberation on that to figure out what our city looks like. And we know we have an identity, we have a vision for our city. The county council has before us. They're trying to wrap up gather all of the information from the cities, and has basically said, we don't want to do the resource land study that it would take for us to accomplish our vision. And that would come out as an expense. That would mean that there would be no expansion, and that would come at a cost of where we put people, because we are supposed to grow by 5,500 housing units and over 10,000 people over the next, is it 10 or 20 years? 20, over the next 20 years. The city is supposed to rapidly grow, and as it already has. And what you get out of that is, if you have no place to put those people, then you get further densification. What you get is the model that they have applied to Vancouver, that cities like Seattle are applying to their locality, where they build through density and going vertical and stuffing people in. And what that would mean for us is that if the county council took no action to honor the expansion request that we have, it would jam 2,000 more residents into existing neighborhoods. It would cost us 1,000 local living wage jobs. We're talking really an outdated model. So we're talking building in existing neighborhoods, ADUs netting as much as 20% higher density, and underperforming job growth by 21%. So that is not what this council has looked at, and we've decided that the vision for our community is. Now, we don't want, you look around our city and we're surrounded by agricultural lands, and that's part of the natural beauty that draws people here, and we're not looking to just go out and kill all the ag land, but we do have a few reasonable, common sense requests that would fulfill the need there. And so we are imploring the county council to listen and honor that request. And as a result, just to touch on what Councilor Wells was talking about, we are preparing a request for a joint workshop session with the county council, with this council, and possibly the La Center City Council, because they're in a similar predicament. And I think that we live in a very beautiful area of our county, probably the most beautiful area, and so I would argue to say that that this is necessary. There is an RCW that says that the county must coordinate their plan with cities who have put together a plan. So we have a little bit more work to do on that, council, and to our neighbors listening tonight, if you are so inclined, we would love it if you would contact your county councilor. Your county councilor, if you live in Ridgefield, is Councilor Sue Marshall. She's the chair. You can contact any of them, but she is your representative, so I encourage you to reach out and do a little bit of advocacy there if you're so inclined. With that, that's my update. I'll go to you, Mr. Stewart.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council and the community. Just a couple of things following up on that. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. Just a couple of kudos to follow up on the kudos that have already been given. Earlier today, this morning, Mr. Thamert, Kelly Melroy, and myself met with representatives from the fire district, with Chief Knorr, and I'm forgetting who else, and Sam Lewis. And the reason for the meeting was that the Clark County Fire and Rescue CARES team, as well as their inspectors, have been housed in La Center City Hall, and they have rapidly outgrown that space. They're actually looking to lease space at Western Star, just across the street, basically, from Public Works Operations, but they don't have adequate parking. So the chief had come to myself and asked, is there any opportunity for them to park 5 or 6 of their vehicles at Public Works Operations? We went out there this morning to look at it, and to Mr. Thamert and Mr. Melroy's credit, they were looking for all kinds of different avenues to pursue to find ways to help, both short-term and looking at long-term solutions that they may be able to assist with. It is not something that they had to do, and we do have space constraints. We have reasons for the space that we have out there, but they went out of their way and above and beyond to find ways to help the fire district. So thanks to Mr. Thamert and to Mr. Melroy for that. Second kudos is that last week, Deputy City Manager Lee Notnieris and myself presented at the International City and County Managers Association Local Government Reimagined Conference in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We had a panel discussion on exploring the new world of remote and hybrid municipal work environments. It's something we are all dealing with, whether you're in the private or public sector. In the public sector, there are specific pieces of that we wanted to be able to learn from each other on. It was an excellent discussion. We had over 50 people attending our session, gave us a great opportunity to share our experiences, but also, more importantly, learn from others. So it was a great thing, and it wouldn't have happened without Ms. Notnieris and the work that she did and that she does every day. So with that, I am happy to answer any questions you might have.
Council, any questions for City Manager?
Not a question, but thank you for bringing up the parking. Chief did announce that at the Fire Commission meeting tonight, and commissioners were very welcoming and thankful of this partnership, and it really does help the CARES team, give them a more central location. So it helps everybody. It's a win. Thank you guys so much.
Great. Any other questions for Mr. Stewart? Okay, great. Thank you, sir. We'll move on to Mr. Green.
Thank you. So it's been a while since I've given an educational term for traffic engineers, and so I'm going to give one tonight. The term of the day is HAWK, and this refers to the pedestrian traffic signal that Councilor Bavella was noticing out at Hillhurst. HAWK stands for High Intensity Actuated Crosswalk. Figure that one out. Anyway, that one is a push button away from turning on. Unfortunately, the manufacturer gave our contractor the wrong push button. And so that one has been ordered. It should be in any day now. As soon as we get that in, we're working with the county to turn it on and then move the flashing beacons down to the Sanderling View Ridge campus. That all should happen very quickly, and hopefully any day now.
Wow, great.
Great, that's awesome.
Good to see that out there, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Thamert, we'll go to you.
Thank you. I only have one update tonight. I'm happy to report that last week we received, after 2 years of waiting, our sander and de-icer for our big snow plow. It is over 3 times the size of our old one, so we are looking forward to putting that into service and serving the community this winter.
It's something I think we can, maybe at a future council meeting, we'll bring it out here and so that you can see it. It's relatively impressive.
Is it an attachment or is it an actual vehicle?
It is an attachment.
Okay.
It's on our hook truck.
Okay. Can't wait to see it. All right. Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just a couple of things. We talked about Greeley Park today. And I just want to let you know we are in the final phases of closing on that park purchase, and we should be closing by the end of this month. On another note, we did start our state audit last week, and there's 2, we only have to do 2 of 3 audits that we normally do. The auditor's office did call and ask for permission to bypass our accountability audit this year because we had such a thorough and good audit last year. They asked to help them out with some staffing issues they've been having and lower our audit because we're considered low risk, and then they'll do a 2-year audit on the accountability next year. What we're going through right now is a grant audit for a couple different grants that we do have. The main one being the Pioneer Extension grant that we got, and then also our normal financial audit, which is for our financial statements that we'll submit for the award as well. So council, you all will be getting a request sometime over the next week or 2 to attend the entrance conference. As soon as we do get a date for that, either Julie or myself will be sending that out.
Great, thank you. And council, if you can attend that, I do encourage it, just as it's a good view into how that process. So, great, thank you. Okay, Ms. Les, we'll go to you.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have anything to add this evening.
Okay, no problem. Ms. Notnieris.
Couple reminders. Spring cleanup is scheduled for April 19th. The flyers have been mailed to all of the residents in Ridgefield, so they have their ticket to attend. The setup is very similar to what it has been the past few years, except for hazardous materials will be handled at our operations center by the county with all the appropriate protections. That is to be more efficient with getting so many people through the lines. The second thing is that our dragon boats are now in the water as of this morning. So you will see the dragon boat team out on Thursdays and Sundays. And community paddles don't start until June, but we will see them during the week with the team. That's all I have.
Great. Thank you very much. Do we have Ms. Parker online tonight, or is she? Okay, that's great. We'll go to you, Chief.
I have nothing to add. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Chief Doria? All right, seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.